Hi, today I'm going to show you how to cut up a lamb. I'm going to show you the whole process, how we go from this lovely carcass into all the cuts you see in your butcher's shop. Now, this is not just any old lamb, this is proper grade A butcher quality lamb. And if you just have a look at this, I mean, you don't get meat like this in a supermarket. This is the real deal. If you just have a look at that lovely thick shoulders going into that loin, there's a nice bit of fat on that loin. If you have a look at the back end, lovely patination there. Just have a look at the conformation on those legs. Nice thick chunky legs. Now, this is Welsh lamb, you know, it's one of the best you can get, hence in the price. You know, this has got the same protected status as champagne, Stilton cheese, you know, cheddar cheese. You know, you cannot call anything else Welsh lamb unless it's reared, slaughtered in Wales, and it's actually got a protected geographical indication, which you can see there. I mean, I can't stress enough to you how special this is, you know, and it is expensive, but you do get what you pay for. Like I said, you definitely won't see stuff like this in the supermarket. This is a prime product. So basically what we're going to do to start is we're going to break it down into what we call primals. So if I can just show you there, if I turn it over, there's three primals on a lamb. You've got your shoulders, your front end, your middle, which is your loin, where you get your chops from, and obviously those fantastic legs of lamb. And we're going to start first of all by removing those back legs. Turn it round. So all I'm doing then is just getting rid of that fat, so I can see a clear way to taking those fantastic chunky legs off. And like I say, with that PGI, you know, nothing else can be called Welsh lamb, like nothing else can be called a Cornish pasty, unless it's made in Cornwall or Champagne. If it's made anywhere else but the Champagne region of France, it cannot be called champagne. Right, so what we're going to do is, if you can see in there, there's the back end. Now, that comes from up the back end, there's a joint. Now, when I take my legs off, that next joint, I just go straight through, get my knife, and I just cut. Because I like to keep it nice and clean, I cut straight through. If you can see there, the joint. I'll just get my saw, and there you have those lovely back legs off. So we'll put that over there. So if you look inside and you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ribs. So in between the 6th and the 7th rib, I'll have to do it this way for the camera, just put your knife in, and then you count 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then same that side. So put your knife in, just go up through the breastplate, join the two cuts up, straight through, and then just get the saw in, take the bone dust off. There you have your loin, your shoulders, and your fantastic legs. Now that is what we call the primals. So like I said, the fore end, the shoulders, where you get your slow roasting joints off, we can get some chops off, get your neck of lamb from, which is there. We've got the loin or the saddle, we've got the breasts of lamb, which are one of my favourites. You get your chops off there, your best end of neck chops and your loin chops. And obviously your legs, your roasting joints, you can break that down into steaks, you know, and obviously there's some chumps, get some chump steaks. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start butchering this properly now. So first of all we're going to do these legs. So what you do, you get your legs, there's a natural seam where they join, you go down there, you'll come to the H-bone, just with your knife, straight through. And then straight down the tailbone. You have your 2 legs of lamb. Just going to trim that fat off. Going to save all those bits, going to mince those bits up. Just going to trim it. We're going to cut off the chump. Now this is the equivalent to the rump steak. I'm going to cut it off there. There you have those fantastic bone-in chumps. You can see that's a lovely leg of lamb. Fantastic. So same with the other. Just trim that off. Just trimming as you go. Don't want to take too much fat off. And then that H-bone, about a finger, slight angle towards the tail, one cut, then you saw, cut straight through. That is cracking lamb. So we've separated the chumps from the leg. Now I'm going to work on the loin. Right, so next we're going to work on this lovely saddle. Now if you look in here, this is just a piece of the blade bone. Just get your knife in. All you've done is just caught the end of it, which means it's been cut properly. And all we're going to do, look in there, just going to give that a little trim. All that fat, keeping your knife nice and flat. You don't want to take any of the meat with it. All you're doing, just clearing it so you can get to your meat. So you can see there, then we've got our lovely saddle lamb. We've just trimmed up the fat. Now there's several things you can do with this now. Obviously where the ribs are, if you look in there, from there to there is what you'd make a rack out of, a rack of lamb, or your best end chops, and then from where that fillet is to there, you've got your loin chops. Now there's several options. You can obviously take the breasts off, leave it whole, and then you can cut some double thick Barnsley chops off the loin, or you can bone it out, roll it up, obviously with the breasts off, and make some little noisettes. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut down the middle, and I'm going to show you how we get the cutlets and the loin chops. So basically, straight down the middle we go, and you want to try and get even amount of bone on each side. And you'll just start to see now, like on down the middle, and we're just going to cut straight across. I'm just going to get rid of all that bone dust, just get a cloth and wipe that off, and also I'm going to take out the point of my steel, that spinal column. So we got our loin split. What we're going to do is cut off the breast, which is one of my favourite cuts. So what you're looking for is the eye of the meat About the same again, because I like quite a bit of breast of lamb, but I don't like my chops too long. So take it down there, straight through. You're left that lovely loin, and one of my favourite cuts, much underrated, the breasts. So we repeat with the other. There we have 2 loins, our 2 breasts of lamb. So with our shoulders then, take that elastic band off. Another one of my favourite cuts. You know, I'm not a fan of the expensive cuts, I must admit. And this is one of the first dishes I'm going to cook out this. Is this fantastic neck of lamb. I mean, you've got to go a long way to get a cut that is as tasty as that. Amazing that is. So we just tidy that up. What we're going to do next is we're going to bone these shoulders out. So if you can see there's a bone. Just get your knife in either side. It naturally joins up there. What we're going to do, flip it round, and we're going to sheet this out in one go. So get your knife in, just gently follow that bone. I shall turn it round for you in a minute just to show you. We're going all the way round. We release that neck, fillet. There you have one shoulder off the bone. There's this little strap here. Just take that out. You would not chew that. Okay then, so in at the top, basically you're just sheeting it out, pulling it, letting the knife do the work, just gently. Following the shape of the bone, the natural shape. Obviously we trim this bone up after, you can mince it, make some lovely lamb and mint burgers. If you see, it comes off, it should look like that, that like that. That strap again on that one side. And with our shoulders, there's quite a bit of fat, some blood meat. Just gently trim it up, square it off. What I'm going to do with this, I'm actually going to cut these neck fillets out, which is that eye of the meat. As you can see, it's got a natural seam. Just follow it. These are great, you know, if you're going to make a curry, these really are a prime piece of meat. And you know, you can see I'm just pulling it, it's basically coming out on its own. Trim that up, square it off. Now take that bit of fat off there. A bit of fat off there. I'll do the same to the other side. So you can start it off with your hands, as you can see, naturally pulls away. There you have your other neck fillet. Trim that one up, square it off. There's plenty of fat in this, you know. I'm always have shoulder when I roast. I think you can't beat it. Do it slow, I think it's sweeter, you know, and do it real slow and it, you know, falls off the bone. I don't think you can beat it. So there's our shoulders, there's our neck fillets. So we took it one stage further then from the primals. As you can see, we've got our two lovely legs, our two chumps, moving across, our two loins, two breasts, and of course the front ends, the shoulder, the neck fillets. I'm going to dice the neck fillets using a curry or make some nice kebabs, and obviously my neck of lamb. So what we're going to do now is we're going to concentrate on boning these pieces out. The pieces I want boned out, you know, when we get them chops cut, get it all trimmed up nice. So like I said at the start then, these chumps, these are the equivalent of, on a cow, these would be the rump steaks. So these will be great for grilling, for frying, or doing in the oven. And what we're going to do, just going to trim up the fat, square them off and bone these out. Now you can see the bone there, so just put my knife in, just go like that. Now these have got two bones, so you could, if you wanted to, just take that one bone off there and you could cut them on the bone. But I want the boneless steaks, so I'm just going to nip that other bone out. Makes a good little roasting joint, this does as well. There you have your boneless chump. So you have to see now on this one, so just trimming it, following that bone nice and steady. Take that other bone out, just to show you on that side, and your left, you can get in there. And that, trim that one up, square it off. There we have two lovely chumps. One of my favourites, the breast of lamb. Now this, to me, is a fantastic cut. You've obviously got to do this slow. Just going to square it off. I'm going to take that bit off. I'm going to mince that. Now, there's several ways you can cut this. Cut it into ribs, you know, and do it in the oven, but what I like to do, I like to bone it out. I'll just show you. Again, we're going to sheet this out, we'll bone this out. I mean, you roll this up, and I have actually got a video of slow roasted breast of lamb, and because of the fat content, you know, it keeps it moist. It's an absolutely an amazing cut, and I love it. Another cut I grew up with. You know, these used to be 50p when I was a kid. You're lucky to get them for about a £5 now. So that would be your breast of lamb. All you do is just roll it up, just gently slow cook that. Fantastic. Do that other side. And all these bits we'll go over after. We'll dice it, we'll mince it. Like I said, make some lamb burgers, make some lamb sausage, you know, shepherd's pie, kebabs. I mean, there's loads of things you can do, you know, even the nice lean bits, slice it thinly, stir fry them. Sheeting that rack out of ribs. That's the other one. Now I like to leave a bit of fat in, you know, because if you slow roast this, it's all going to melt away anyway. So that is that one. Let's do this one properly. No cowboy skillage here. You could stuff that as well. So there's our two breasts of lamb, our two chumps. So with our loin, we've got two cuts. We've got our best end chops and our loin chops. So I want to leave the rib bones in the what we call cutlets. So that very last rib, put your knife in, and as you can see the bone there, to get a clean joint straight through. And there you have your fantastic loin chops. Trim them up, take a little bit of the fat out, and basically we go through what we call in the butcher's trade the sixpence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, just look how nice they are. Got a little bit of marbling in there as well. This is, you know, serious quality lamb. So like I said, you see it this side where the rib ends, you can see the bone straight through, a little bit of trim, so again 5 chops, 5 joints, 5 joins. This is where having a sharp knife is a priority. Loin chops, put them over there. Now with these, I'm just going to take the backbone off, the chine bone, so you can cut through the ribs. So all you do, gently with your saw here, take that off. And these lovely dog can have that. Chops. I mean, I'm going to do them quite thick through the rib. There you have your lovely cutlets. Looks good, doesn't it? It does look good. We'll put them over there. Show you again. So just, you can hear it when it gets through. Do you hear that? That's when you're done. Any further than that, you're going into the eye of the meat. Just gently follow down those feather bones. Just trim as we go. Then, like I did with the other, cut that a double. You know, yet again, grill these. I like mine pan fried, or pan fry them to get them crispy, finish them in the oven. So next, we'll do my favourite, the neck of lamb. Now normally these would be chopped in a butcher's shop, but what that does is it makes the bone splinter, which is no good, you know. So what we're going to do, the old fashioned way, we're going to saw it. So as you can see, I've just cut through the bone. You get no splinters, and that, believe it or not, makes one of the best dishes going. To me, one of my favourite cuts after the breast. Just before I do those legs then, these lovely chunks, like I said, the equivalent of a rump steak, so it's very, very versatile. Go straight through, and as you can see, that is a fantastic cut of meat. And obviously I've cut that end where it joins the legs a little bit thicker because it tapers down. That gives you your lovely leg steaks. So with these legs then, what I do, just take off that joint, knee joint, like that. Now what I'm going to do with these is there's quite a lot of meat on these. So first thing, I'm going to take off the shank. one of my favourites. That's all I've done. That first cut straight through. You can see on this one. There you've got your shank of lamb. I mean, who doesn't like that? Stewed down nice and slow. Right, these legs. Just give them a trim up. Just take a little bit of that fat off. And then the other gristle. What we're going to do is bone this out. Starting with that H bone. Funny shaped bone, this. Take your time through that ball joint, as you can see. Try not to get in the way of the camera. And basically, there she is. There you're left with your leg. I mean, you could just tie that up now as a joint, or take the bone out completely, string it. I think is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to cut that. Once it's tied into two, it'll make two nice joints. So to bone it out, feel in there, it's where the one bone ends. Now a lot of people, they just open it up and they bone a leg of lamb. I don't do it like that. I do it the proper way. I tunnel bone it. So as you can see that bone there, just go in. Knife right up close to that bone. And all you're doing is tracing that bone with the tip of your knife, and you start at this end on the ball joint. Basically comes out. There you have one boneless leg of lamb. Just give it a trim up. What we'll do in a minute is we'll tie that up and get it cut in half, two joints. But with this other one, same again. I should trim it up. With this one, I'm going to leave the bone in. So all we're going to do is cut it in half. You'll have that lovely prime, what would be your shank of lamb with the shank taken off, and that half, once you've got the bone dust off, would be your fillet. Two fantastic looking joints. And we'll tie that one up in a bit. So there's our shoulder of lamb then, the neck fillet I took off. First thing I'm going to do, just nip that little knuckle off. Now I'm going to do these a couple of ways. First thing I'm going to do is cut the shoulder in half into the shank and the blade end. So all you do, there's a blade bone there, your knife nice and straight across. Now this blade of shoulder is my favourite joint. Take that bone dust off. My saw didn't work very well then. You're left with that. From this end, all we do is give that a trim. You're left with them. So do the same with this one. So find that blade, you can see that white blade bone there ends. That's where you want to put your knife, and you can feel in there, there's the bone. You just go straight across. I mean, that's got plenty of fat in it, which obviously roasted slowly all melts down. Sweeter cut of meat. To me, out of the leg, shoulder, I'm shoulder every time. So what I'm going to do then, quickly tie this leg that I boned out. Put a couple of strings around it. Try and get even strings, nice and tight. Keep the joint together. So I've tied that leg. What we're going to do, take a knife, straight down the middle. Got two boneless leg joints. So just before we lump it all together for the money shot, with these shank ends of the shoulder, I'm just going to take the, I suppose, hock off. He says, come on you little beauty, like that, and that will go with the other ones. I'm just going to bone this out because I want some meat for dice, like I said, make some nice lamb kebabs, maybe a stew, you know, and all the trim. Definitely go into some burgers, some minty burgers. So, just take that off there. The first thing I'll do, just square it up. And I'm going to get a couple of nice shoulder steaks out of that, and the rest I'm just going to dice up. One cut there, one cut there, pretty much the natural seam, and you can expose, as you can see in there, joints. And same again, just take that little bone out. Dog's going to eat well. I mean, this is, you know, it's not as hard as it looks, and it's definitely the way to buy this stuff, you know, but it all comes down to having the right product in the start, you know. Like I said, this is seriously a top grade lamb I had off my butcher, my mate up the road. You know, he's really passionate about his lamb, and he's right too as well. You know, this is an amazing product. You know, they don't just give these protected status things to anybody, you know. Right, goes to that pile. So I'm just going to finish off trimming it out. I've got these lovely shoulders. I'm just going to bone one out for you. This is the blade end, very strange shaped bone. So one's boneless, one got the bone in. I'll show you what I mean in a minute with the shape of the bone. Very therapeutic to watch. When I was at the butcher's, you know, a lot of people, they'd ask you to cut something for them, you know, and they'd be mesmerised, and they'd be saying, you know, I really enjoyed watching you do that. And as I found out, you know, with my channel, with over 150,000 views on my Dear Butchery alone, you know, people like to watch it. These are dying skills, you know. There's not many of us left. You know, there's definitely no younger kids coming into the game. For what they are, you know, they're supermarket monkeys, you know, it's all out of the box. You don't see many people cutting off the bone anymore. Give it one of them. And that is your blade bone out. Just take that ball joint. Simple as. Right, quite a bit of fat in this neck end, so what we'll do, strip it back, just take a little bit of it out, that one kernel there, A little bit of blood meat. And once that's tied up and squared off, that is a lovely little joint. So there's the finished article, and what a beautiful display. As we've got from up the top here, we've got the two shanks from the back legs, a bone leg cut in half, a leg of lamb bone in cut in half, blade side of shoulder of lamb bone in, blade side shoulder of lamb boneless, our two neck fillets which we can cut down the middle, cut nice and thick for kebabs, some shoulder steaks. Over here we got these lovely fantastic looking loin chops, our lamb cutlets, one of my favourites, the neck of lamb, nice little pile of diced lamb there. And moving over here we've got our lovely chump chops, our front hocks, shanks, whatever you want to call them. You could bone them out, add it to that pile. To me, one of the king of the lamb cheap cut is the breast. And all it remains me to say is, you know, this is a premium product. You have to go to a butcher's for this. You know, no one else can produce it like this. The supermarkets, they won't stock the quality of this. You know, this is a premium product. Like I said, it's got its own stamp. And that was how to cut up a whole lamb. And it just remains for me to say thank you to my butcher, Mr. Narroway, you know, who got me this lamb. He's really passionate about his lamb, and you can see why. You know, there's a few meals there in it. I hope you enjoyed watching that. I enjoyed doing it. Thanks for watching.